Okay, it's recording. Yes, I see there is someone's mic is on. If you have a good question. Okay, someone's mic is on.
Yeah, I think proceed, Leandri, and then anyone who wants to speak will request to speak or lift up their hand.
Okay. So, what is the kinds of sources of South African law that we get? There is 5 main sources. Okay, let's put it like this. There is 2, which is authoritative, and then you have, yes, you want to say something?
No, I just want to say authoritative and persuasive. Those are the 2 main sources.
Yes. So under the first one, there is 5 different laws we have. Okay, so it's legislation, status, acts of parliament, and the constitution. Okay, then there's court decisions, case law, court cases, and judicial precedent. Okay, then there's common law, custom law, African customary, indigenous law. Okay, so you need to know the differences and what they mean. So what is the first one? What does the first one mean?
Okay, before you get your answers, I just wanted to add. So you said there's 2 main sources,
Yes.
which is authoritative and persuasive. I just wanted to add that you've got the Constitution, which is overarching, because if you look at the Constitution of South Africa, it's that falls under authoritative. However, everything has got to uh, be measured against the Constitution, whether it is coming from persuasive or authoritative.
Yes, you are completely correct there. So now we need to know what are the 5 different ones, the main ones. So yes, Amma?
No, I'm not saying anything. Sorry.
Now I see your mic's on. So the first one is legislation, statutes, acts of parliament, and the constitution. So the legislation is the most important authoritative source of law. We also call it statutory law. Okay. And then it says here, all law, not only legislation, is always subject to the Constitution, like Zama said. The Constitution is the supreme or the highest law in the land, and no other law may conflict with it. Okay. And all the laws that is passed is written in the Government Gazette. Okay. All of you still with me? Okay.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Okay, court decisions, case law, court cases, and judicial precedent. Sorry. Okay, so no legislation on a specific subject, or a lawyer will look at sorry, I'm just okay. All the court cases and case laws are based on a particular act in the law. So your acts you will find in the Constitution, and all the laws have to fall under the Constitution, and it cannot be different. Okay. So the principles of judicial precedent, or called precedent system, is the following. Okay, let's first explain what the judicial precedent is. Lower courts are bound by decisions of higher superior courts. So you've got your district, your regional, those are the magistrates, and then it goes to high courts, from high courts to Supreme Court of Appeal, and they all go to the Constitutional Court. Okay. So the two requirements for this is the hierarchy of courts and the effective systems of law reporting. Okay. So I just told you about the hierarchy of the courts. That is on page 103 of your study guide. It shows you district, regional magistrates. Those go up until high courts, which have different divisions. Then that goes to the Supreme Court of Appeal, which all go to the Constitutional Court. Okay. So what is the effective system of law reporting? Can someone help me there? Anyone, guys?
Sorry, come again?
What is the effective system of law reporting? Okay, I don't want to sound mean.
Okay,
guys,
let me come in.
Okay.
I thought that there'd be people who would be coming in, so that we make it a discussion. But the idea really is not to have a lecture, because we do have lectures, but it is to actually share ideas, and all of us contribute in one way or the other. So I just want to plead to all of us to be able to actually just be part of the discussion, so that Leandra does not end up talking by herself. On that hierarchy of courts, I'll come to the effective law of reporting, the effective system of law reporting. The hierarchies, from the magistrate court, high court, Supreme Court, and constitutional court. One of the things that I just wanted to highlight there is that the decisions of the higher courts are binding on the lower courts. So if you go to the magistrate court, for instance, and there's a ruling, that ruling, because it's the lowest court, it's binding on that court only, but it does not bind the higher court. So which means that you can actually appeal to the high court. So if a person is not happy with the verdict, they can then go to the higher court to make an appeal there at the high court. High court could actually arrive at a different decision. Magistrate court will generally have one magistrate, whereas the high court will at least have about 3 judges sitting there, even the Supreme Court of Appeal. Constitutional Court will have 11 judges. So you've got think of it like this: you've got a combination of minds in higher courts. So when you go to the magistrate court, you're going to go there and find a magistrate sitting there, making judgment on cases or making a ruling on certain cases. You know, on Friday we had an opportunity to go to the magistrate court, just to view the court processes as UNISA students. And you find a magistrate there who is sitting and the cases are called. So that person sits there and basically makes rulings, makes a ruling on certain cases. When it goes to High Court, once the High Court makes a ruling, that becomes binding on the High Court and the Magistrate Court, which is the lower court. If they still want to now make an appeal further, they go to the Supreme Court of Appeal to make an appeal there. Once that court makes a ruling, it is binding on all the lower courts. And it goes on and on until they go to the Constitutional Court, which is the final court. If the Constitutional Court makes a ruling, it is binding on all lower courts, which means that even if you're not happy with the ruling of the Constitutional Court, there's nowhere else you can go, because that is the highest one can go in our legal system. Are we still together?
Yes.
Now let's go to the effective. So what we dealt with there is what you were actually attending to, the principle of judicial precedence. That's what actually it means. Now let's go to the effective system of law reporting. Here they're basically saying that the law reports are basically found in the South African law reports. So once a case is finalized and the verdict has been pronounced, that particular case is then published. The decision, rather, of that particular case is then, put into the South African law reports, where anybody can actually go and find it. Now, what happens there? How do they put the information there? They put the various arguments that the lawyers put before the court, and also the reasons upon which the court based its decisions. So these are the arguments that were put forward by the defense and by the other side. And then those arguments are going to be put in that particular report of that case, and then the reasons why they have arrived at that particular decision. That is called ratio decidendi. And I think they're going to use that term in asking us. So it basically means the reason for the decision. So what you find in the South African law report, when you put a case there must be a reason for the decision and various arguments from the lawyers on that particular case. So when you read a reported court decision, you are going to then find all of those. So this was basically going to be helping you to actually understand what actually came out of this court. Now, the case in point, if you looked at, this is an example, if you look at on chapter 6, that case that is starting, who's that case again? S versus Makwanyane. Yes, that case. There, you actually find exactly what they're talking about, because all of the 11 judges from page 86 right up until the end of that, you see that they've exactly done that. All of these judges, 11 of them, they basically have put their reasons there. And right at the end, on page 98, you then see the ratio decidendi, the reason for the decision. So basically, this court case follows exactly what they are talking about when they talk about the system of law reporting. That's basically what they are talking about. Does anyone want to add on that before I continue? Or let me just quickly conclude this part on the effective system of law reporting. Now, apart from the ratio decidendi, which means the reason for the decision of the court, which, by the way, as we said, higher courts are binding on the lower courts. It says here, one sometimes finds obiter dicta. Obiter dicta, basically, these are passing remarks that the judges are making as they are making a judgment. So it's basically a passing or a casual remark that is made by the judge. It's not necessarily directly relevant and applicable to resolving the dispute. So the judge may make a particular a remark, maybe to say that, oh, if you read a particular law, you'll also find a similar issue. It's not necessarily an issue that is going to be binding on his decision, but he's actually reminding. So that obiter dicta, the passing remarks, the remarks that the judge makes while he is pronouncing his judgment, it says that they don't create a precedence and therefore they are not binding. They just can become a persuasive source. So what effectively it means is that if you look at where we started, where we said two sources of law, authoritative and persuasive, the judge uses that part, the persuasive part, the obiter dicta, basically to just help make clarity on the judgment that they are arriving at. I don't know if anyone wants to add, or if I'm clear, or if you want to minus. Thank you.
Okay, Tay, you've got your hand up.
I wanted to say, possibly to make it a little bit more understandable, the way I understood the effective system of law reporting would be it promotes uniformity, transparency, and accountability within the legal system.
Yes, that is
Fantastic.
Rhonda, your hand is up.
Oh, okay. Mr. Zama, can I please ask something? So the whole process of case or court reporting is upon like how the case starts up to the point on how the case is being recorded or how it is codified. Is that what we can say in short?
I'm not sure if I understand the question. You're saying that?
Oh, Mem was asking the process of court recording. Ne? So my question is so in short, should we say it includes generally at the beginning of the case until when it is finalized to say this when the judge will say we have come to the end of this case and then he signed? Is this the process of case reporting?
Broadly, but yeah. in the cases that you will find, because I'm looking at many cases that we have, I've actually gone through maybe 2 or 3 cases. You will discover that they are not going to be putting everything, from start to finish. What they are concerned about mainly is what are the various arguments that were made about this case. That's what they are going to report. So these are the various arguments that were made on this case, and how did they get to the decision after these arguments were made? What is the reason now, the actual reason that they have arrived at this decision? So if you look at that case, S versus Makwanyane, you will see that each judge there is actually putting their various arguments. Each judge is putting their various arguments, literally from start to the finish of that case, if you look at it in chapter 6. But right at the end, they are then putting the ratio decidandi, the reason for the decision. So basically, if you want to look at an example of how a case is reported and put in the system law reports, you will look at that case, how it's structured. It basically gives us an example of how the case is reported.
Oh, okay. You have simplified it. Thank you. Thank you so much.
It's a pleasure. Okay. So, common law. You guys, we must remember there's a difference. There's a difference between common and
Ma'am,
custom.
sorry.
Yes.
When Lucy was still there's something is written, statutes. We didn't discuss about that. Statutes. On that same line of first one. The statutes.
That is. Oh, you back at legislation, statutes.
Yes, yes. I'm
Parliament,
sorry.
constitution.
Sorry
No,
for taking you back.
Statutes are. I'm standing under correction here. Is
Okay.
basically just the written down laws. Am I right, Zama? I say that to just make it easier.
Yes. Just explain, because if you can just explain it together, because in that line she's talking about is legislation, statutes, act of parliament, and the constitution. Some of these words, in my view, are actually used interchangeably. They could be meaning one and the same thing, and others, of course, could be different.
Oh,
But yeah, I agree. You are correct, Leandra.
thank you.
Okay. Anyone else needs an explanation before I go on?
Where is Bongani today?
Good question. Okay. So common law, it consists mainly of Roman Dutch law, which is influenced by the English law and has been adapted over centuries by South African legislation and case law. To develop the common law, we must take interest of justice. Okay, so the common law is Roman Dutch law, influenced by English law and adapted over centuries by South African legislation and case law. Okay, so that is common law. Now the one that follows, we mustn't get the two confused. Fumani, you have a question before I go on?
I just wanted to comment on the statutes. What
Yes.
my understanding of that is, actually there is 3 of them. You'll find statutes, common law, and regulations. So statutes are actually the laws, the actual acts that are passed by parliament. Common law will be laws that were developed through court decisions, and regulations will probably be what it's made under statutes. So those are the details rule on how statutes are going to be implemented. Thank you.
Okay, so that answers some of Rhonda's question as well. Thank you very much. Okay, so the custom law, okay, it's not written laws. It is mainly unwritten laws which are passed down from generation to generation. Okay, so you've got common law, which is Roman Dutch law, and English law that is adapted by South African legislation and case law, whereas custom law is unwritten laws. Okay. Okay. So usually custom is most fulfill certain there's certain requirements that fulfill the custom or in order to be recognized as a legal rule. Okay, so the custom must be reasonable. It must have existed for a long time. The custom may generally recognized and observed by the community. They must be generally recognized and observed by the community. And then the contents of the custom, in other words, what the custom involves, must be definite and clear. Okay. Here's another case they have, which is a good example of custom law. Okay, so that's on page 105. In each case before the court, these 4 requirements will be applied to a particular custom by court in order to decide whether or not the particular custom has the force of law. For example, may it be considered as a legal rule. So there is a whole process that goes before we get a custom law to pass. So it's not just, okay, we're going to take this law and we are going to make this custom, we're going to make it a law. Okay, so there is different requirements, and I've listed them for you, so I've read them down. So if there's someone who has trouble with that, you can just ask us questions, put up your hand, and we can go on. That is the custom law. Now the third one, number 5 on page 105, says African customary indigenous law. Washu, you've got a question, or do you want to answer something? Washu?
Hi, I have a question.
Yes.
They say the custom must have existed a long time. Why is that?
It came with, so custom is that comes over centuries or a long time. So you can either have, it's not like the African customary law. African customary law comes from African culture, where custom law is something totally different. It was there. Let me get an example for you. I'm struggling getting an example for you. Can someone help me with an example for that? Why is the custom law? No, there goes my paper. It does say it's very long, but it's something like the Greeks. Let's take the Greeks. They have this tradition that when they have a party and they are excited and things like that, their custom is to take plates and smash them as a sign of they enjoying life, enjoying what was given to them. Okay, so that is a custom. Does that make sense to you so far?
Yes, that makes sense. Thank you.
Okay.
Can I just add there?
Yes.
You will see that on these ones, I just want to go back. It says there, I just want you to see the difference, that's all. It says common law, and then it says custom. It doesn't say customary law, it just says custom.
Oh, sorry.
And then it says African customary law. So the customs may not necessarily be a particular law recognized within the South African mainstream law. However, it is basically some rules that the communities will make for themselves. I think they've made a very good example on page 105 about the fishing industry. I think that will help you to actually understand. So these have existed. This is how people have lived. It's a way of life that people have had for centuries, and they've lived like that, and they know that no, if you do this, we actually do. So it's basically how they live their lives. Now, if anyone wants to challenge that way of life, it will then go to court. Court will argue it, the pros and cons and everything, and then it will then become either customary law or whatever it is. But I just wanted to note that you have common law on number 3. 4 is custom, it doesn't have law. And then 5 is African customary law. I just wanted to just point out that you should be able to notice that. Thanks.
Thank
Oh,
you,
okay,
Zama.
so if
Sorry guys, can I just ask something there? So according to what I'm seeing here, I think the custom law, I think according to my understanding, it comes from the era whereby we had the era whereby we were being ruled according to the Roman Dutch law and the English law. So just to cut the matter short, they saw that okay, during that era, we were the certain rules or the certain laws are the laws that were governing the community and making sure that everything goes accordingly. So to avoid putting them in writing, they still recognize them as the custom law, but they are not putting them in writing because, mind you, South Africa doesn't have the coordination rights as Rome had. So all the laws of South Africa are not written down. So I think maybe they could have took some of the laws from that era. Then they still believe, okay, if no one comes front and maybe challenge this law, tells us, argues about, okay, how about we change this and do it in this way, then they will still recognize that as the custom law.
Can I also say something?
Yes.
So basically, in short, let's just to say customs is part of heritage, the way we live, I think.
Not necessarily. I still argue that maybe it could have been a thing of, okay, they were looking back at the areas whereby people were living according to those customs. So, just to be on the safe side, they don't want to make them official by writing them down because here and there are the rules or the laws are going to be like they are going to open the old wounds of the of the South Africans who were affected by the apartheid. So just to make sure that they are not opening the old wounds, not every law is going to be written down, but it's still going to be recognized. You're only going to find out about that if maybe you come across a situation whereby you have to go to court and you argue that no, I didn't know this law exists.
Are we still on customs?
Yes.
I think, can I come in? I think, Khonsi, are you not, I think you are moving between custom and common law. If you look at the study guide, it's got number 3, custom law, common law. And then number 4, it says custom. And I heard you saying custom law a number of times. And then number 5, it is African
customary law.
Customary law.
No,
So
remember you saying that the custom laws are not written down, right? So I'm saying that they could have taken the custom laws from the era of the common law, from the era whereby the from the era before, like from the era during apartheid, because some of the laws that they were using by then, they still exist even now.
Can I please correct the point?
Okay.
Yes.
Write laws down. In my understanding, that is not the case. The reason why the laws were not written down, it's because when they put what they have to write down regarding these laws, the meaning, like the written, the way they wrote these laws, it changed the whole idea of how the better, what can I say, how these laws were supposed to be when they are written down. So that is why the laws are remain unwritten even today.
Okay, so you're saying that they don't have a specific way of writing them down and making them meaningful.
They do,
So it's
but
better.
the people who are writing the law, I can say it's that they changed the laws, like when they are written down, it changed the whole idea of how these laws are supposed to be. So like the what can I say? It over generalizes the information of how the law is supposed to be from the beginning, I guess.
Can I take the floor? Can I take the floor?
I beg your
Yeah,
pardon?
come in.
Yes. There was a specific analogy that is given from the understanding of custom law. The case that is given here is Van Breda versus Jacobs of 1921. That by then there was no apartheid. What customs really, how customs act as a source of law is that there is a specific, they only apply to a specific community. They do not have a universal applicability. The example given here is a fishing community between Cape Point and Fishhook, about the procedure that they're supposed to follow in throwing their nets. As the fishing community, they established those laws for a long period of time to an extent that they were binding to every fisherman. And another example that is given here is the issue of banking, whereby your any transaction that you are conducting carries a certain fee, but just because you open a bank account solely for the purposes maybe of receiving your salary, you do not sign an extra contract to consent to the deductions that are going to be made. So the custom that is given there is only confined to a specific community. Using this example, the first community that was given was the fishing community. Then the second example is the banking community. You are transferring money from bank A to bank B. Those charges, you do not sign a separate contract to consent to being charged for transacting between the two banks. That the specific example that I gave on custom, not customary law. These are customs for specific communities.
100%.
Hi, Bongani. So can I speak? Please speak.
Go ahead.
So in other words, Bongani, when we consider those fishing rules that were there, it's part of custom, not indigenous. What's customary law? Is that correct?
According to the text, there is no further grading of people, if they are Africans or non-African or that what. It's just a fishing community. That's the bottom line that we were given in describing this custom.
The way people are living in a particular area, the things that they are following, or the rules that they are observing as a community or as the way they live, is it custom?
Yes, that is custom.
Yeah.
Okay.
Having
So
community malls. It's
that's
not it's for that community. For that community.
The things they are observing.
Can I make an example, Resuna?
Yes, please.
And then from there, please move on to indigenous so that we must have a clear understanding of these two, please.
Okay, I think she will move to indigenous. I just wanted to make an example. You see, if we can understand what a custom is, because this just says a custom, which is basically, these are rules that are not written. I just wanted to make an example. If, for instance, we are all sitting in a room and all the seats are taken, and a gogo comes in, what is an unwritten rule there? Somebody must stand up.
Yes, the unwritten rule is that someone must stand up and give
You
the
stand up
other.
for her.
Yes. So basically, that's a custom.
Correct.
You see, you understand? So that is a custom.
Yes.
It's unwritten, and it comes from way back, and everybody knows about it. But you see, if somebody then can challenge and say, no, but this thing is not right, because we arrived here first. Gogo has come at her own time and finding us sitting here. Now we're going to be. I've got to be standing here, and I have also my health issues. Then a person wants to challenge that. Then they want to take it to court. Then it is argued at court, and then it is discovered that no, man, this custom actually has been there for ages, and it can be proven by the community that no, it's like that. When an old person comes in, somebody younger will stand up and give way to an older person. I think that is an example, basically, of describing in a very simple way what a custom is. Thank you.
Thank you. Understood.
Thank you, Sama.
Okay.
Can I add?
Yes.
Also, when they argue the way I understand it, when they argue the matter at court, everything that they argue that is concerning customary law or customs, it has to align with the Constitution. So if it doesn't align with the Constitution, then it cannot turn into, it cannot be, what's the word, integrated into common law, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think you are correct. So somebody said we must continue. Where's Leandri? Please continue, Leandri.
Okay. I think we all have the idea of what custom is. Okay. And I think we all can agree that we know what customary indigenous law. It's largely unwritten, but it has now been recognized in the law, in the Constitution. So not all the laws of customary, African customary is in the Constitution, but a lot of it is already being applicable in the South African Constitution. So African customary law is also a largely unwritten law, but a lot of the laws that the African customary law have been integrated into the Constitution. All right. So some of the laws are already added. Yeah, so it differs from different tribes or different communities. Yours might not be the same as mine, or vice versa. Okay, that is the 5 under authoritative law. Sorry. Okay, persuasive sources of South African law. There are 3. Other legal systems, foreign law and the views of modern legal writers. Okay. I see here's a hand up. Ooh, Magautu. Yes.
Sorry, that was an old hand. My apologies.
Oh, that's fine. So what are other legal systems? What other legal systems do we get? Guys, anyone want to take a chance? Want to give us an example or? Guys, we need to work together. Yeah. So we need to find out what is other legal systems. They are historically related to ours because common Roman law bases such as France, Germany, and the Netherlands. For certain areas, even English law is examples. Okay. Rhonda, do you have a question or an answer?
Oh, hi, ma'am. You were asking, so I wanted to try and answer.
Try.
Okay, when you are talking about other legal systems, we have to look into other systems like in the other, be it civil laws, or in the countries, some other countries like Britain. How did they handle such cases that like we are having at hand? Like we are comparing so that we can see which one to adopt from other countries in solving our cases.
So as a reference, referencing sense. So
yeah,
we take
kind of.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay. So what is foreign law then? What do we see as foreign law?
Can I come?
Yes, please.
Yeah, if you look at as study guide number 2, I'm just worried that we have gone for just under an hour and we've only done one chapter and it's a very small chapter.
Yeah.
And we are saying we're going to be doing these 6 chapters. It means that we're going to finish at 1 o'clock. I think our pace is quite slow. But then let me just quickly come. Foreign law, if you see that it actually says that foreign law actually is coming into picture when you are talking about the Bill of Rights. So it says that here, Section 39(1)(c) of the Bill of Rights states plainly that the courts may take foreign law into account when they interpret the provisions of the Bill of Rights.
Karaboyo, thank you. Sorry, Zama.
Yeah, so basically, when we deal with the Bill of Rights, so it says here, therefore, we can expect our courts to refer to foreign law more often when dealing with the Bill of Rights. Now, I actually was looking that up, and I actually know that, you see, yesterday, we had our Human Rights Day, 21 March. Every year we have our Human Rights Day. But also, you do have the International Human Rights Day. I think it's sometime in November, if I'm not mistaken. So basically, internationally, the human rights are basically, celebrated. If you look at the 1945 United Nations Charter, for instance, talking about human rights in international law, you look at some international covenants. you know, you look at some Declaration of Independence, for instance, in the US, etc. So all of those, when they talk about all of those pieces of law, those are foreign laws specifically that specifically deal with the human rights. That's how I understood it. So it's actually, you may be a bit confused, because if you look at other legal systems, you're also looking at you know, international countries which are also foreign. But then if you look at foreign law now, specifically on point number 2, it actually refers, it comes into play when you are specifically dealing with the Bill of Rights. I think that's my understanding. I see Bongani's hand is up, but that's my understanding.
Bongani, you want to jump in?
Yes, I love to jump in here. Mr. Zama, you came right, but you deviated a little bit when you said close to the point. Going to the case of S versus Makwanyan, that was a case that was tried on Bill of Rights. Here, that the right of life, the right to life overpowers the death sentence. In that thousands of court cases, not court cases, but the interpretation of other countries' constitution on the right of life versus death sentence. The states versus Panyana case is the good example on the Bill of Rights.
Yeah. Leandro, you can go ahead. Leandro? She's no longer here.
Hi, sorry. I mute myself.
Okay.
Yes, so the last one is the views of modern legal writers. They don't have authority as sources of law. It's normally the influence that a legal principle or legal rule has. Okay. All right, then can we go on to another unit, because the rest of unit 6 is basically cases and activities, because the one is Nordea and other versus Fraser, and then we've got the Choice of Termination of Pregnancy Act, which explains how the acts and the cases are. I don't think. Yes.
Can I just come in? Yeah, I think we're done with this unit. I just want to make an example. Yeah, if you read the case, I was going through over the weekend the case of Road Accident Fund versus Mtati. You know, as I was reading that case, and this is another module, I think it's PVL, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
But as I was reading that, this unit actually came beautifully, because if you look at that judgment, the judge there has quoted foreign law. The judge there has also quoted, you know, the views of modern legal writers, but also the judge has used authoritative law, which is, you know, legislation. So as you read that case, this actually now comes into picture so clearly. I just wanted to say, I want to encourage us to take time to actually read the cases. As you read the case, don't only read the case for the purposes of going to the judgment. Also look out for these beautiful things that you can find there that actually help us to understand this thing better. I just wanted to say that, but I think that this model is done. Thanks.
Yes. Okay, Rhonda.
Oh, hi guys. I wanted to ask something. We don't have electricity at our side, so I'm about to go off. So with the cases that we have for Esma Kwanyane, the issue of termination of pregnancy, we all read those things. So for the sake of examination, they said we must know the contents, or we must have reference to them. Are we not going to discuss a small summary of those cases, or we just have to let it slide? To those that read the cases.
I think, Rhoda, we are already pressed with time. I doubt we're going to, because we only just done one less unit, and we still have 5 more to go. And it took us an hour and 10 minutes to go through just one unit.
No, we are not doing all the units today.
That's what we said. We said we're going to do 1 to 6 today. That was the discussion.
No. Guys, can I please ask something? There's a website for Darren where you said there are past exam question papers. Did you have registered there? Did anyone register there to give us questions, like to have real questions, like to see how did they ask, like their way of doing, UNISA?
Tobile?
I'm not sure if, greetings everyone, I forgot to greet everyone.
Hi.
So I'm not sure if, I can't even pronounce your name, but I'm not sure if you were referring to the websites where we have practice questions. Do you want the link or you want the questions?
The link I've got it, but I can't access the questions because I'm not fully registered on that website. So I was asking if there's anyone who is a full member of that group or who has the questions, so that you can tackle the questions exactly to see how they are going to ask, to familiarize ourselves.
Guys, I think you guys can connect on another site or via WhatsApp, because I don't think all of us has the same modules except for this one. Fumani?
Hi,
The
thank you
site has
for the
all the modules.
opportunity.
It consists of all the modules.
Rhoda, the website is available to everyone. It's free. You just need to use your UNISA student number to register, and then you can find all the questions that you need. Just to answer your first concern, the agreement for this class was to prepare for the upcoming quiz on IWL1. So the agreement that we had was that we're going to be discussing 1 to 6. We just started from 6 going down. Thank you.
So do we have like
You are breaking up. Okay. Which unit do we need to tackle? Is there anyone with, I'm going to go quickly because we've got less than an hour left. Okay.
I think Rhoda is still saying something.
Rhoda?
No, I'm done. I was just asking if we have got questions from that website. The website has got questions for every module under law.
Okay, I can answer that.
Okay. I think Funani has already responded to that. Are you not happy with that answer from Funani, Rhoda?
There is the focus areas that I put on the WhatsApp group has multiple choice questions at the end of each of those units. Okay. All right.
Guys, I think Rhonda is facing problems because remember you have to enroll yourself. So maybe Rhonda doesn't understand that you have to enroll yourself just after registering, because maybe she's waiting for Darren to enroll her. So there's an option whereby you just have to enroll yourself for each and every module that you are doing.
Hence, for the meantime, I was saying, don't you have particular questions from the past exams to add that you can directly answer?
There's everything there, Rhonda. There's everything there. There are past exam papers, there are quizzes that you can try, there are mock exams. So there's everything. Every study resource that you need as a student is all accessible there. You just have to make sure that after registering yourself, you enroll yourself to each and every module that you have. Then you just go through whatever. If you want to try the quiz, you can try the quiz. If you want to get the past exam papers, you can also access them. If you want to do the mock exam, you can also do it right there.
For the sake of time, can Rhoda please write your questions down or in diaries in those WhatsApp channels so that they can be answered and we move on to another unit, please?
Okay. We're going to skip through a lot of this quickly. I want to go to unit 3 because that is our biggest unit that I think most of us are having trouble with. Okay, so we have 5 different periods in law. Okay, so it's Roman law becomes Roman Dutch law. Roman Dutch law comes to the Cape. English law comes from Britain to the Cape. The recognition of African customary or indigenous law, and then the establishment of the constitutional democracy in South Africa. Okay, anyone have a problem that has any relation on unit 3? There's something we must help you with, or any questions, please speak. Rosanna? Okay, you can ask your question.
Okay, I think the part that I did not understand well is
You're breaking up.
Apologies for the delay.
Can we get someone else until she's got an idea? Guys, anyone with a question? Raise your hand or speak. Okay, anyone? You guys, if you're not going to be participating, it's not going to help us do this. We need you guys to participate as much as possible.
I don't have questions on this unit. Thank you.
I don't have either, so I think we must move on to the next unit unless there's someone who has an issue. Anyone have a question on unit 1? Do you all know what the law is? Rosanna, do you have your question?
No, not yet.
Okay. Anyone who does not know what the law is? What are the characteristics of a law is? Because we've got 2. We've got public and private law, but they are different characteristics of law. So how would you explain what are the characteristics of law? Anyone? Rosanna, you still want to ask your question on unit 3?
No, I will write down the question once I'm truly satisfied.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So guys, are you all happy with unit 1? Just thumbs up or something. Okay, there's a thumbs up. There's a thumbs up. Okay. Unit 2, the law and rights. All happy with the unit 2? Okay, we all said we're happy with unit 3. Unit 4, families of law and legal cultures. Everyone happy with that? Gus. Anyone else have an issue with unit 4? We can Brianna?
Hi,
Yes, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good.
Oh, ma'am, as much as I thought I got Unit 4, I'm still struggling to answer questions regarding it. I just
Okay.
need you to please explain the classifications of the legal system into, go deep into details, please, because wow.
Okay, so you want us to go into the legal families.
Yeah.
Okay. Bongani, do you want to ask a question before we answer her?
Yeah, it's a question. I'd like to know, does the concept of legal families resonate with the jurisprudence? The analysis of legal families, does it confine to jurisprudence?
Yikes. I'm not. I don't think so, Bongani. Zama, did you get Bongani's question?
Bongani is asking a high-level question. I cannot understand the question.
Okay, so I'm not the only one. Okay, Bongani, can you elaborate? Make it a little easier for us to help you.
Okay, maybe I can say the difference between legal families and jurisprudence. Are there any differences, or is the what side of the same coin?
Okay, so you want to know if there's differences or similarities, okay, between legal families and
jurisprudence, and concept of jurisprudence, because I see the jurisprudence is the philosophy of law. So these families, are they forming part of the philosophy of law, or something else?
okay, so you want to know if it falls under the Zama? I see.
I think, Bongani, and I'm not sure if I'm going to be answering you, that jurisprudence would probably come as a separate subject. As you are saying, jurisprudence would be the philosophy, theory, and the study of the law. But when you talk about legal families, in my understanding, is how these different laws are classed together. I think based on their history, in my view. For instance, if you look at the first one, I just want to make an example with the first one, which is the Romano-Germanic law, which would include the French, Dutch, and Germanic law. So I think the families of law is clubbing of similar laws together, and they make a group. But when you talk about jurisprudence, I think this would come before you actually would club them together. I don't know. Somebody may come, but that's my thinking.
Yeah, Zama, you are making a lot of sense. Does that answer your question, Bongani?
It somehow helps me understand that, because I was wondering if these families portray a certain philosophy of law, or it's just a grouping or general grouping of laws without mainly confining them to a certain philosophy. So I will find maybe a way out of that reasoning if it is truly not the case here, and take the legal families as certain aspect, not the component of jurisprudence.
Yeah. For instance, Bongani, if I just may come, I'm looking at the background that they have used in grouping these these classifications together. For instance, they say you look at the style and the technique of that particular law. So, and they look at the philosophy of that particular law and other elements, economic elements. So you look at that and you say, okay, but this style and that style and that style, they are together and they share the same philosophy and economic settlement. And then you group them and you say, okay, they belong to one legal family. Then you go to another one, a socialist one, for instance, USSR and China. You look at them and you look at the style and the technique of the law, the philosophy and the economics elements, and then you say, okay, these also are belonging to one family. But when you look at jurisprudence, jurisprudence is then when you study the philosophy, of the law. For instance, what example can I make? Because some among us may not necessarily be interested in practicing law per se, your criminal law, your civil law, etc., etc. We may want to actually look at, jurisprudence in terms of what is important in law. One example I can make, Bongani, is, for instance, why are we not developing our law fully integrated with the African traditional customary law? And you look at what are the things that are preventing it from happening. Why is it that legislation, upon being passed, it takes, or rather, not legislation, the court cases, when the verdict is passed, it takes so long for it to actually become law and legislated? I think jurisprudence would look at things like that. Thanks.
Okay, Summer, you answered Brianna's question as well, about how to classify them. Brianna, do you want us to go into more detail, or does that answer your question completely?
Yeah, he answered it completely. Thank you.
Okay, anyone with a question or something about Unit 4? Okay, then Unit 5, divisions of law. Anyone have an issue with that? Guys, do we all know the divisions? Which of them are there? And I think we all happy with Unit 1 to 6, seeing that tomorrow is our first quiz of ILW. Anyone with extra questions?
Can I just come maybe with a comment? But before I come with a comment, I want to encourage all of us to please participate. I think it's important. It helps all of us to actually have a light bulb moment, because I may have studied something and I thought I got it, but because Khunzi or Fumani or Bongani made a comment, then I'm like, no, man, it actually makes better sense because I thought it was this and this. So I think when we comment, it actually helps a lot of us to actually be able to see things maybe from a different angle or a different perspective. But I know that people want to keep their peace and keep quiet, but I do think that the class is mainly, for us to discuss so that we can actually share ideas. Now, just coming to my comment, when I was reading that case, what is that case? A road accident fund. Is that the one? Road accident fund versus Mtati.
Yes.
Yes. I thought it's quite interesting because it brought me to IWL, because there's division of if you read that case, because it was reckless driving who ended up injuring an unborn child. Now, of course, there's an element there of public law or criminal because there's an element of a criminal element of the law, but also a civil part of it. And when I read that, I then thought to myself, it would be interesting if they actually approached this angle from the public law or criminal procedure. But because they were looking for compensation, that's why they approached the case from the civil law perspective. So you see, I think when you read these cases, and I know I'm saying this again, but when you read these cases, I think they open up your mind and you're able to actually see many other things, surrounding the particular case. They may not necessarily be particular points on the case itself, but they help the understanding of how the law actually works as you read the cases. So I just want to encourage us, let's please read the cases, not only for the purposes of writing and passing the examination, but also just the understanding of law in general. And I like what Bongani said earlier, because at some point, we're going to be jurists, so jurisprudence is going to be part of our daily, especially if we're going to be practicing law. So I think I wanted just to share that with everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Zama. Bongani?
Can I also say something? I think that maybe we could, since it seems like everyone is not saying anything when coming to asking questions or making comments. So I think maybe it's only fair that maybe you could try to generate some questions so that maybe other people could answer. Because it's like, honestly, if people are not going to participate when coming to maybe telling us or which unit don't you understand, or what is it that you want us to recap on, then obviously what's the whole point of having maybe more than 10 people in the class if they're not all going to be participating?
Yes. I'm agreeing with you guys. Bongani, you want to ask something? You and Kagiso?
No, I want to add on this Santam case from what I read, even though it's a little bit outside the scope of the module at the present moment. But what I found out to be outstanding in that case is the concept of a natural fiction, the rights that an unborn child needs to be, that unborn child needs to enjoy. So maybe much of the emphasis was on that the then born child was having challenges. He was born with some disability out of that accident. So the case may have been raised more on trying to enlighten the natural fiction, taking into account that the legal personality starts at birth, not before birth. So it's double-sided case because it focused on the interest of a child that was unborn by the time of the accident, and the restitution for such damages.
Kagiso? Kagiso? I'm probably mispronouncing your name.
Oh,
Hi.
yeah, it is Kagisano, but you tried. Thank you. I'd like to apologize. I thought I put my hand down. I wanted to add about jurisprudence, but is it Zama? He said quite a mouthful there. So well, basically said a lot that I figured no, I don't need to add to that. But yeah, I apologize for that.
No, it's not necessary. Okay. Going on everyone's remarks and everything, we're not here to teach. I'm a teacher by profession, but the reason why we started this was to encourage people to take part and debate with us. So we would appreciate everyone if we go to the next session, where we will start on Unit 7, go through Unit 7, make notes, and then you can ask us. Probably the next one will be later this week when we all have tried our assignment or our quiz as it is. Yeah, so then we can go on to Unit 7 all the way to 12, where each session will be 1 unit. And then at the end, we will do a second recap, and that will be it. But we really need you guys to participate, please. It doesn't help we've got 100 people and there's only a handful asking questions. Okay. Hopefully I didn't offend someone, but that's just my viewing of it. Okay. So everyone's happy with what Unit 1 to 6? Anyone? Thumbs up? Okay.
Quite happy.
Yeah, I think I'm happy. What we can do for now is just to go into our individual spaces, individual corners, and just brush up on, certain detail that we may be unsure of. I must say that from the quiz that I did with PVL, and this was my first quiz because I'm doing the first day with UNESA this year. You may think that these quizzes are fairly easy and straightforward until you actually meet a quiz. Then you're like, I actually need a bit of detail here. Now, if it was not an open book test, because this one is the first ones are open book, I can tell you now, it would have been a bloodbath. It would have been a mess. So I want to encourage us to please go and not ignore the small detail. And that's what they want to catch us on. Just look at the small detail. And in that way, you are able to be able to answer the book. So just for an example, they would say to you that the Union of South Africa became a union which year? Then they say in 1985, then they say 1961, 1910, and 1923. Now, you didn't go through that detail and you're thinking, my goodness. But because this is an open book, you can quickly just go through and oh, okay, there it was in 1910. Then you're able to answer. So let's actually, I know it's a bit daunting because we're doing many modules, but if we can be able to be detailed, because I think that multiple choice is more of an evil than you just being asked questions and explaining, because multiple choice really wants you to know the detail. Otherwise, thank you very much to everyone, and thank you for the opportunity, and good night from my side.
Good night, Zama.
So, just adding from what you just said, Nezama, we had a quiz with it's ENG 1504. So on that quiz, you would just take advantage and be like, oh, it's English. I'm not gonna stress myself. I'm not gonna go through everything. I'm not gonna read this. I know how to write an email or a report or whatsoever. Get in there, like they're not only asking you like those basic questions on how to write an email or whatsoever. They're asking you a lot. They want to see if only you did manage to go through your study resources. Those study resources are there for us to study, not to just put them aside and be like, oh, okay, they're going to ask me about this. No, I know the date of June 16. They want to see that did you go through the book? Do you have all the information that is required for you to write this? Because they're not just going to ask a simple question of what's your name. They're going to ask something and it's going to be very complicated. You end up going to crack yourself and be like, oh, okay. And mind you, if you're not going to do the open book, sometimes you even fail even when you're opening a book because the questions are not direct. They're asking you a question in an indirect way. You just have to figure out, okay, if Vela, you did go through the study resources, then you're gonna find a way of saying, okay, but I think I once saw this line on the study guide, so I think I know what is it that they're talking about, because the questions are very tricky. I don't want to lie.
Good evening. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. Good evening once more. I understand that there is a concern of participation. We've got different categories of learners in this or students in this course. We've got people who definitely come prepared. We've got people that come here with hopes to gain from the sessions, hence you find low participation. I am not sure how practical it is for maybe some of the admins to prepare at least a small summary for each learning unit as sort of an icebreaker that we can start working from there, and also help those that are not very much prepared to at least now go and seek further information. I understand the intention of the class currently is to discuss, but if we can have an icebreaker in that fashion, I think it might also gain momentum. Thank you.
Can I ask a question, Fumani?
Yes, sir.
We do have sessions with, what's his name, Darren, on Wednesdays. And when we have those sessions, well, personally, I take them as icebreakers, because some of the content I would have just read, and I would still be, 50-50 on certain things. That's why I then want to come to this discussion class, because the icebreaker was there. Unless, well, you and others would have the time to prepare then a small lesson. I think already Darren does that for us, preparing a lesson and highlighting certain issues. I'm just thinking that, the people who are doing these courses here, we come here, we are all just new, and we are just getting into this. And so we're trying to understand. But I get where you're coming from. I'm just thinking in terms of time, would they be able to prepare a small lesson? I think that Darren would have done that. But then if you feel that that's the way to go, then it's okay. I wouldn't have a problem with that.
No, I'm also in Darren's classes, but I do not know, like this came from other people still asking about the website, some people not knowing about it. So some people are not familiar with Darren, and there are multiple groups that are doing these classes. So people get information from different sources. So I just thought for this specific one, but if the idea is to continue from what we do on Wednesdays, I think it's great. Then it serves the purpose. And that is if it's the view of the entire group.
Okay, that's fine. I understand.
Okay, there's a hand. Okay, that hand also disappeared. Yeah, you can speak.
Yes, I wanted to share something here with fellow corp members. There's this website is StatDoc. It does have a lot of stuff contributed by students themselves, and it's very helpful. It does come with quizzes, or maybe a unit. You can generate your own quiz per unit if you need a little bit of running around the unit. So it's quite helpful, and it's in fact a privilege in this day and age that there are so many helpful means that one can take up, because that's the disadvantage of distance education. We do not have time to sit down as a class to have 1 or 2, 3 people raise their hand for everyone to follow. So it's a self-paced studying that we have to accustom ourselves to.
Please share the name of the thing. You said what's StatDoc? What is it called?
StatDoc.
I'll share a screenshot on the.
Can
on
you
the
just
group.
write it? Yes, please share.
And also, I think it's our responsibility if maybe you feel like maybe there's an app that you're missing, or maybe you're missing something. Rather, inbox, we have those groups on WhatsApp. So rather send a text on WhatsApp, communicate with others, find out what kind of apps do I need to download so that I can be able to catch up. If like maybe for example, I find the book too complicated for me, which other apps can I use? The apps that are going to be of resourceful, maybe the apps that are going to have those summarized study guides or whatsoever. Because we can't always say you come here to class, maybe it's a discussion or maybe it's a lesson, and you come here like you didn't even study, you don't know anything. Like, we're not going to be reading from word to word. It's better if maybe you come here and you're saying, okay, I read this and I didn't understand this. I didn't understand this part. So can you guys please explain this part for me? Or if you could say, okay, I'm lost. I was studying this and okay, I have an idea, just a bit of it, but I need you to just highlight me, just make it clear for me so that I can have the full version.
Yes, that is, yeah, I'm also using this Studoc website, but it is not free. You actually pay for the information. But I do have this on my laptop. I will WhatsApp it to the group, and then we can help each other like that. I even have one for PVL. So yeah, let me WhatsApp it to you guys, and then we can, it has summaries so that we can just go on from there. It doesn't have everything, it's a summary. Okay. All right. And I think that's it for tonight. Good luck with the assignment. And then we'll discuss later on when we're going to get together again. Okay.
Okay. Good night.
Good night.
Bye.
Bye.
My goal for this garden season was to have 30 jars of sauce on my shelf. Last year I had